Lionel Nelson here. Welcome to A Father's Note, promoting fathers through building men. It's so important that we always stand up for our fathers. We want you to know we're with you. We're standing behind you 110%. Hello, and welcome to A Father's Note, where we promote fatherhood through building men. I am your host, Mr. Lionel Nelson. As always, we're certainly glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend the evening with us. We have a great show for you tonight, interview. There's this young man by the name, our guest tonight, his name is Gene Marcelin. If I'm pronouncing that right, please forgive me. A friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours had told me about him, and I made contact with him. And I tell you, then in our conversation, I had found out that he had written a book. He started sharing some of his life experiences with me. And he told me he had wrote a book. And the book, or title of the book, was The Good Guy, My Story. It's by Gene Marcelin. Let me tell you all something here. When I started reading this book, I didn't want to put it down. And at the end of the day, we have a tendency to think that our life our past life, or even now present life, is so horrible, it's so bad, but listen, the reason I have a saying that I always like to say when people ask me how I'm doing, always love to say, I am doing better than great, meaning there's always someone else worse than me. So I'm giving praise, I'm giving thanks for even the life and the moment that I do have, because I realize how precious life can be, and I respect that. So upon reading this, I was like, you know what? I gotta have this guy on. And he accepted. I invited him onto our show, and he accepted. And without any further ado, I would like for you to help me welcome Mr. Gene Marcelin to our show. How you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man,
Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. I gotta give you some applause, bro.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I was just absolutely blown away. And as I stated, that when you told me about your book and knowing that you was going to be coming on the show, at first I downloaded on my Kindle because it's an easier way for me to read, especially carry it around with me. Now I love hard books. I love to have a book in my hand, but I really wanted to get into what your story was, the backstory of your story. And I was absolutely amazed. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I got to get this guy book. So I want you to know I did buy the paperback. It's hey, I know I got to support you, bro. I got to support you. So I did get that. But listen, let's talk about your story, The Good Guy, and what prompted you, without going into details, because we're gonna get into the book. But why did you write the book, The Good Guy?
I got several reasons, but one of the main reasons that I even wrote the book was for my children, because growing up, I never knew nothing about my parents because they died so early. So I don't know how they came up, where they came up. I don't really know their childhood stories. I don't know anything about my parents. And one of the main things one of my main focus when raising my kids is to ensure that they don't have the life that I have. And one of the main things I wanted them to know is who their father was, like who is this man and what he's been through. And y'all have some of that blood in y'all to know that y'all got greatness in y'all.
Right.
So that was
right.
the main reason. That's the main reason.
Well, I tell you, man, I commend you, man. I commend you for your story. And we're going to get in. I want to get into it. Okay, so in your first chapter, you pointed out you was born in 1981 in Miami, in Miami, Florida, at Jackson Memorial,
Yeah.
to the parents of Agnes and Jean Marcelin,
Yeah.
who both was from Haiti, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And also that you are the fifth child out of 7,
Yeah.
and at the time 2 had remained in Haiti. So
Yeah.
you just straight out blood-born Haitian. Though
Yeah.
you was born in America,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
just straight Haitian. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So tell us about that period in your life. What you remember from that period in your life.
And the period and around that early time, man, I could just remember just how poor we was, man. Like we struggled, because my parents had just came over, and I could just remember like just our circumstances, our living circumstances. Just we were so poor, man. A lot of things that we didn't have. I remember not like having a lot of clothes, a lot of underwear. Like I remember having like maybe 2 to 3 underwear.
Yeah, you wrote that in the book.
Yeah, 2 to 3 underwears, like 2 pairs of pants, and despite how harsh our circumstances was, my parents made do what they do.
Right.
And that was we was kept together all the time. So at the time me and my 3 siblings that was over here, we was kept together all the time. So I think that's what I remember most about growing up during those times. Just how we were struggling, man. We were struggling. We were poor.
So 2 of your siblings, the older children, was left over in Haiti.
No,
right?
2 siblings, but it wasn't the oldest. The oldest that came over,
which was Claude. He made it over.
He made it over, and it was the second and the third was left in Haiti.
Which Edwidge and John. Okay, they end up staying behind, but you, Chella, Steve, Karen, and Claude made it over. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we was here. Claude made it over. We was born here.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you grew up in Overtown.
Yeah.
And maybe probably one of the most poorest neighborhoods areas in Overtown.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And in the book you did identify how your parents, they really struggled taking care of you all, and you all were living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yep.
Well, Claude slept on the couch.
Yep.
Mom and the children slept on the floor. Yep. And y'all saved the bed for Dad.
Yep. That's
so I understand Mom didn't work at that time, only Dad worked. What kind of work did Dad do?
He was the bus driver to the croppers, because back then a lot of the Haitian people that came over, they did crops in the field. Right. And he ran his own little bus service, and that was his thing. He owned I think like 2 buses, and he would be taking them back and forth to the fields.
Good. So during this time in Overtown, we all know what goes on in Overtown, and you said that you saw things children your age should not have seen. What were some of those things?
Like I talked in the book, I talked about it in the book. It was one time I seen somebody actually get shot. You know what I'm saying? Like point blank, like right there. And as a child, to see something like that right in front of you, and it's like it was in the open. It's not like it was nighttime. It was literally the afternoon.
Right.
And it was to just see that. It was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You know what I'm saying?
So how old do you think you were at that time? How old would you say you were?
Maybe between 6, 7, something like that.
Did it have any traumatic effect to you, seeing someone get shot?
Well, of course, man, as a child, you're gonna be scared seeing things like that. But when you're growing up in a neighborhood like that, where things are just that bad that you see on a regular basis, it kind of sets the tone to everything that's going on around you. So you would see something like that and be like, oh my God, I just seen this, just seen that. You just be, as a child, you just get scared and run home, and that's about it. But as far as being traumatized by it, we already understood our environment, and our environment wasn't a good environment, and we kind of adapted to it.
And I understand in the book you wrote that you all were victim to a home invasion.
Of course.
One night.
Of course.
What do you remember from that?
I remember us sleeping on the floor, and I remember the door opening late. I remember it was late. All us, me, my 3 siblings, my mom was on the floor, and we seen somebody come in, and like we knew that wasn't our father.
Right.
We knew that wasn't our father. So of course, all of us was jumping, screaming, and everything. And the person, approached my mama while she was down, like protecting us. And he literally just snatched her chain because she had a gold chain. He snatched the chain and he ran up out the house. So I wouldn't call it a home invasion. I would just call it just a robbery. We witnessed. We witnessed it, and that was something that was real scary as a child. That knowing, there's no protection because my father wasn't there, my brother wasn't there, so there was no protection. My brother actually went out that night. Went out with his friends that night. That was that was something that was real scary, man, as a child seeing that.
Good. So you moved from Overtown to Wynwood, which was, as you identified in the book, was a little bit better.
very little, very little, but it was a little bit better, and it wasn't the art district. So all those people out there, wasn't the art district.
It wasn't nowhere near that, huh?
Yeah, you're right. It was a little better.
I guess you could say. I guess you would say it was uptown, Overtown, huh?
Exactly. We just seen a little bit more Spanish people, but everybody was still struggling. Everybody was still struggling. Overtown, it was just a lot of blacks. Wynwood, we seen some Spanish struggling now.
Yeah, and having an extra bedroom made life a little bit better, huh?
A little better, but for the most part, we seen the difference. We seen the difference in it, and we was better. We was better. We understood where we came from, so of course we was grateful. We was grateful.
So, but you're saying in the book that during this time living in Wynwood, that's when the relationship between your parents began to become strained.
Yeah. I often remember them just fighting a lot. And when I say all out fighting, like in front of us, I'm talking about dishes being broken. I'm talking about, furniture being messed up. And, my mom was real tough. And she wouldn't let my father get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if you know about Haitian men. There's this stigma where Haitian men, they're the strongest, they're the biggest, they're the baddest, and they run their home. But mom
wasn't having it though, huh?
Yeah. Not knowing too many of the stories that was going on during that time. Obviously, it was, knowing now it was a lot of infidelity. But my mom wasn't having it. And they right in front of us. Right. They were right in front of us. They was going down, getting at it.
So during this time, though, living in the Wynwood, my understanding, they would eventually separate.
Exactly. They would separate. They would separate eventually.
So, you said that the tension between your parents had continued to get worse.
Yeah.
Let me see, where are we going? If your father would eventually move out, right? So then now at this time, though, you have to live between two homes, right?
Exactly.
So what was that experience like for you?
We was mostly with my mom. My father, after the separation, we was mostly with my mom. No, we didn't see our dad often. But we seen him.
Right.
Around that time, we was mostly with our mom all the time. Mostly with my mom.
Did you all have a relationship? Even you as a son, did you have a relationship with your father? And if
Of course.
Okay. So in essence, that bond was there, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I can say proudly about both of my parents, that they loved their kids. And like with my father, what I can remember about him, he had his ways, but like he always he would never get just one of us. He would always have all four of us, and he would always have us together. So he never neglected us, and not spoke. Whenever we seen him, and we spent time with him. But yeah, we was with him. We was with him, and he was with us. So we did have somewhat of a relationship with him, but of course it wasn't as strong as with my mom because we was with her more.
How old were you at that time? Can you recall?
Around that time, 12, about between 11 and 12.
11 and 12.
Between
So
10, no, between 10 and 12.
okay. So having dad move out though, how did that affect you as a son?
I mean, as a son, you kind of, the next person up was always my oldest brother, because growing up, we always really seen him as the dad. And I don't know if you know about the Haitian dynamics of a family.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest sibling is usually the parent, because
Okay.
the parents usually dump everything off on the oldest sibling.
Mm-hmm.
So my oldest brother was kind of our father figure. So he would discipline us. He would, like, we would look to him. We were so terrified of him. We was more scared of my oldest brother than my daddy. And
Wow.
that's real.
Wow.
Real. We was
Wow.
more scared of him than my father. And but as being that age, I did felt a sense of like stepping up more, being more of a protector, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I kind of assumed that role, especially when my oldest brother went off to college.
All right, so now let's because we got to fast forward this. I want to really get into this here.
Yeah,
so now you move from Wynwood. Your mother gets affordable housing.
Yes.
And you move to Carol City.
Yes.
And now it's 1990 when
Yes.
all of this is taking place.
Yeah.
And this area was very new to you all because it was totally different from where you all came from.
Exactly.
How about explaining that to us?
Well, the area we moved in, for all the old heads out there, is called the Matchbox. And everybody that's like in the inner city areas, the Matchbox was kind of known to everybody, especially those people in Carol City / Miami Gardens and Opa-locka. Everybody, of older people knew about the Matchbox. So,
right.
When we got there, of course, it was 5 rooms. Everything was just different. We was looking at the people, how the people, dress different, how they act different. The environment was, it was still rough, but it was different. It was a different kind of rough. It wasn't sad rough, but it was rough. It wasn't sad rough.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, while there, you did get introduced into football.
Yeah.
What was the name you earned? You earned the name what now?
Yeah, I used to play with the neighborhood kids, and because I was always kind of the, bigger than the kids my age, they nicknamed me Okoye, Christian Okoye.
Yeah.
Which was the Kansas City running back from back then,
Right.
Kansas City, the African running back. And that became my nickname throughout the whole neighborhood, and I wore it.
Okay. So, but tell us a little bit what your experience was like living in Carol City, though. Now,
I think, out of all my time, I think living in Carol City is what shaped me the most.
Okay.
I can't say for my siblings because, again, all of us got different journeys, different stories. But living in Carol City was what shaped us the most because of I learned just regular toughness. I learned toughness, and I got a lot of my confidence living in Carol City. A lot of my being able to communicate with people and the outsiders, I got that from living in Carol City, and I got the true meaning of togetherness living in Carol City, because the neighborhood we was living in, it was like our own little world, and all us looked out for each other despite what was going on around us.
Right.
All us looked out for each other. So those are some of the main things that I really got out of living in Carol City, man. And the Carol City, I mean, a lot of the city people, going further south, it's this stigma with the city people that feel like the Carol City people are so uppity, because a lot of people in Carol City, they got homes and things like that. So the mindset was different for people in Carol City versus the people further south. You know what I'm saying? So I just got a different view of the world when we moved to Carol City.
So how old are you now?
Right now I'm 41.
No, I'm saying at the time in Carol
City.
At
the time I'm 12.
Around
11, 12.
Around 11, 12ish.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the violent altercation that happened between your mother and your dad, your mom and dad?
Well, I remember my mom. My mom had she eventually got a boyfriend. It was I don't know if it was for those who out there watching, he was a jitney driver. Everybody know who's the jitney drivers. If you from Miami, you know the jitney driver. He was a jitney driver. So you know, I could remember my dad being real jealous, and you know, that's when my dad still stayed in Overtown, so he would, you know, gather us up, and we'll stay with our mom. I mean, we'll stay with him, you know, while she's home by herself. And on this particular night, I remember being woken up late in the middle of the night with my dad, and my dad had a roommate. And I just remember him driving just frantically, like driving crazy. And we realized, like, why are we going back home? And you know, and we end up back at the house, and just looking at it now, I kind of understood the circumstances now. But yeah, I mean, he figured that my mom tried to get rid of us so she could spend time with her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
My dad didn't know that my mom had the boyfriend, which the boyfriend was helping her out. He was, you know, he was real cool with us, and he ended up in front of the house, and it was a huge melee. And I remember he pulled out like a sledgehammer, and he went attacking my mom with it. And if my room, because it was just me, my 3 siblings, and my and his roommate, because his roommate felt like he had to come, because I guess he heard how my dad was speaking, and I remember him like just. She was at, I mean, I remember this vividly in my head. She was standing at the door, and we was by his car, and he came run at her, and he actually swung that sledgehammer, and the roommate caught his arm, and you know, held him back and pushed him back. I remember that vividly, and then I think after that, like, things really changed when my dad realized my mom had somebody. Things really changed
as far as your dad was concerned.
Yeah.
What about your relationship between him and the rest of the siblings? You and the siblings.
All of us the same. It was the same. I just know after that time we kind of seen him less. We seen him less after that time. So we gravitated more towards my mom's boyfriend and what she had going on.
So in chapter 6, you said you wrote the story of an unexpected tragedy. So it's 1993 right now. Yeah. And in the story, in the book, you wrote that Karen, who is the baby girl, came downstairs and found the mom on the floor unresponsive. Can you share with us that experience?
This it's tough every time, you know, I got to revisit this because well,
let me put a disclaimer. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to.
No. That's I'm real transparent, man. Like, one thing about me, I'm gonna tell you, like, because people got to understand who I really am and how I get through things. Like it was in the book, you know, Karen came downstairs, and it was I remember the weather. It was a rainy, stormy night, and we slept upstairs. My mom slept downstairs. Karen came downstairs. And she just seen my mom on the floor unresponsive. And, you know, she came back and got all us. All us came downstairs. All us meaning me, Chella, and Steve. So all us downstairs, literally in front of this lifeless body on the floor. And none of us knew what to do. So, you know, Chella called 911. And, you know, and then the paramedics came and literally all of us was in shock. You know, it was about a good 7, 8, you know, paramedic people, and and we just sitting there like what's happening? Like, what's happening? What's happening?
What's your ages? What are your ages right now?
I'm 12. Chella's 13. Steve is 8, and I think Karen is like 6, something like that. And young kids, and I could remember.
Okay, so let's back up. Just hold your thought.
Yeah.
Now, two of the siblings are in Haiti.
Yeah.
And it was 5 here. Where was Claude at this time?
Claude is out of town. He's just left to join the Navy because he actually went to college at first. He went to college at first, but my parents couldn't afford it. He went to Bethune. My parents couldn't afford it, so he enlisted in the Navy. So he was actually out of town.
Okay. So it's just you teenagers. I mean, under 12. You said 12. So 12, maybe 10,
Yeah.
8 and
Well,
6.
yeah, 13, 12, 8 and 6.
Okay. And your mother is unresponsive. You have paramedics in your home.
Yeah.
You as young children don't know what to do.
Nah. All we can do, I remember, we kind of was just looking at each other and just started crying. Like, we like, what's happening? Because she really looked like she was just asleep on the floor. And, as a child seeing something like that, like you just waiting for her to wake up.
Mhm.
You just waiting for her to wake up. Like, yo, maybe she fell off the bed or maybe she wanted to sleep on the floor. But, I remember my Chella shaking her and her head would move a little bit, but, that'll be it.
So
And
if it,
then
go ahead.
when the paramedics, all of them came in the house, of course, they pushed us out the way. So all us trying to get in the room just to see what's going on, and I remember getting in there and stepping to the side, and I remember, the smelling salt. And
Right.
we know that smelling salt, boy, that's something, because I used to take it when I played football, to give me hype. And the paramedics, we just heard them say, get the smelling salt, and they rubbed across her nose, and she literally just jerked. She jerked a little bit. So I thought maybe then, she's gonna wake up. But then, she just went right back to just, lifeless. And they ended up taking her. They ended up taking her.
Yeah, you said here, you said watching them put my mother in the ambulance was the last image I and my siblings would have of mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Now,
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
now, now, then you go on further to say, finally you get to see your mom, and when you see her, you said to her, "Mom is Jean," but you got no response. You
Yeah.
said, then I grabbed her hand and looked carefully and saw dried up tears on the side of her eyes. I saw it
Yeah.
as a sign of her being alive and felt she would be okay.
Yeah.
But before leaving, I pulled closer to her and whispered, "Bye, mommy. I promise I'm going to be good from now on." And
Yeah.
that was March 20th, 1993.
Yeah.
And at that time, mom had transitioned.
Yeah. As kids, again, when none of your questions are being answered, you kind of start blaming yourself. You start blaming yourself because you thought maybe, during that time, I was outside, I was, befriending certain people. So, all us, so we would say certain things, do certain things. So we kind of started thinking like we killed her, like, because we wasn't always, listening to her all the time.
Wow.
And, you know, again, when questions aren't being answered, you start thinking these things and nobody to filter your thoughts. And, seeing, of course, now that I've been through life, she was on life support and I didn't understand that. I just felt like, okay. But, I went with my father and my oldest sibling, Claude. He had came down and they kind of knew. They kind of knew what was happening. And but I didn't. I felt like, all right, man, she's gonna be out of here. She's gonna be out of here. And that just wasn't the case, man. That wasn't the case.
So here it is. Your mother has transitioned
Yeah,
and you're 12 years old.
yeah.
What was your way of coping with that? What was the way of, let's say, your siblings coping with that moment?
Um, we was all in shock, man. We was still in a state of shock. Um, my Chella, I remember her taking it the hardest because she was at that age where young ladies start. So her and my mother relationship, she was always talking slick and all that.
Mhm.
I remember her taking it the hardest. Because you start again. There's nobody there to filter none of your thoughts and none of your feelings. So we all kind of just went in our own perspective corners and our zones, and we dealt with it accordingly. But none of us, really came together. We didn't come together and like, had this, brother sister moment and just, we gonna be all right. Nah, we never had that. So I really can't really say how my siblings cope with it. I know, the way we really cope with it was just, kind of acting like it didn't happen. You
Okay,
know,
I understand that. So,
yeah,
so, so check this out, though. All right, so your family is divided. Some of
yeah,
you go stay with other relatives. Some of you go stay with your father, right?
yeah,
Okay, so I have some more questions concerning that, but you say in chapter 7, tragedy strikes again.
yeah.
So this is a year later.
Year later,
A
year
year
later,
later,
year later.
we're still talking about 1312, 8
Yeah,
6, whatever, right?
yeah,
And then father transitions.
yeah.
You want to talk
Um,
about that, or we could pass it on, bro?
nah. It's like I say, it's
Okay.
important, man. Like, and my siblings gotta hear us talk about it. Like, we gotta start talking about this more. After my mother's death, during the death, just to get some people some context to the book. During that whole period, we split up. Me and my youngest brother, we went with my father, and my
Mm-hmm.
sister and my youngest sister, they went with my aunt until everything until my mother transitioned. And then after my mother transitioned, my father came into the house in Carroll
Okay.
City.
Okay.
So now he's
Right.
responsible for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember during that time, uh he was he was just sick, man. Like he was sick. He was real sick. And literally a year later, man, he was real sick. So he did the best he could given the circumstances, because by the time he got to us, he was real sick, man. He was real sick. He was real skinny, real skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if everybody understand, but during this time, it was when AIDS was being taught in school. He was being introduced to AIDS because this when it started hitting. This
Yeah.
when it started
Yeah.
affecting people.
Right. Right.
In the 80s, they started catching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
In the
remember.
90s is when everybody started really
Mm-hmm.
having the effects from it. And I remember in school curriculum they was talking about the symptoms and everything of AIDS, and and all that. And then I kind of was putting two and two together, and I put two and two together, and I be like, you know what, I think my father has AIDS because I remember my brother when he would get his breaks, because the Navy, after my mother died, the Navy gave him a specific time, a certain time to be home.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him, how that go.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
give you like 2-3 weeks to stay home and get things situated, and you got
Right.
to come back. And I
Right.
remember, him coming back when we was in the house, and he instructed me and my other siblings to not touch our father with our
Mm-hmm.
hands, always wear gloves, and he separated our dishes from his. And he said, "Listen, man, don't eat from none of this. All this is his stuff, and y'all eat from this. But
Right.
whenever you touch him, you need to touch him with gloves, and and things like that." And again, and we asked my oldest, of course, Claude knew what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
but we would as kids say why, and no, don't worry about it. Just don't touch him.
Right.
And
Right.
and
Right.
and that was my introduction to really seeing how deadly this disease was.
I'm going to read this here. This is a passage from the book. And I'm not trying to give it all away because listen, we want people to go and buy this book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I just want to hopefully I can make it very interesting where people will want to buy. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
But
I understand it.
but this is one part I highlighted. You said that on my dad's final night in the house, he called me in and I found him lying shirtless on the bed with his skeleton frame struggling to breathe. He grabbed my hand, barely opening his eyes, and said to me, Gene, take care of your brothers and sisters. Gene, you are going to be the one. Gene, you're going to be the one. And you replied, okay, Poppy, Then he said, call 911. Daddy has to get better. And you said that was the last time you saw Poppy alive.
Yeah.
Man, what was going through your mind at that time, bro?
Yeah, well, my dad, we call my dad Poppy. Me and my younger siblings, we call him Poppy. We call, of course, mommy, but we call my dad Poppy. During that time, like, he just was getting worse. Like, he was throwing up all the time. He couldn't hold food. He couldn't hold his bowels. And he was just getting really sick. Like, his hair was falling out. And as a child, again, nobody could not answer what's happening to our father. Nobody could answer that. Nobody wanted to give us answers. Right. So here we are guessing. And what would happen is, I guess when he don't take his pills, because I don't know if you remember back then with people that contracted HIV/AIDS, they was taking a bunch of pills. They was taking a bunch of pills, and I remember seeing him with all these pills, and like he wouldn't take them. Like some of them times we had to give him the pills, and it's like if we ain't giving it to him, he ain't taking it. So he would disappear, go to the hospital. We'll call him. We'll go to the hospital, come back inflated like somebody pumped some air in him, and then get back worse. We got to call him back, and this was going on throughout the whole year. But that final time, seeing your father, man, in this bed, and like that image never leaves me. It never leaves me because, the disease ate him up to the end. And, hearing like he got to the point where he couldn't even project his voice. He sounded like Doc Rivers. He sounded like Doc Rivers. And, I couldn't understand, why he was speaking to me that way at the time. And I couldn't understand what he meant by you was gonna be the one. And, seeing and just seeing that, man, it's tough, man. It's tough because, again, as children, nobody's filtering your thoughts. Nobody's filtering your feelings. Nobody's explaining to you what's happening. You just kind of just dealing with it.
So now you're 13 years old.
Yeah.
And you have no parents. You lost both your parents.
Yeah.
The thing that caught my attention in reading the book, because there's more. Listen, I cannot encourage you all, please. You want to go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. You need to buy this book and read this young man's story. This book is powerful, and we just skimming over some of the incidents that happened in this man's life, because I was blown away. Because what caught my attention is that you and your siblings, basically from that point, from the time your father passed or transitioned, from that point up until you all were adults, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you all raised yourselves.
Yeah.
Without any family help. Am I right or wrong?
Right. What happened was my Claude was able to get a visa for my sister that was in Haiti. She came down.
Edwidge.
Yeah, Edwidge. And his girlfriend at the time was helping out, but things happened between them, and the girlfriend said, I'm out. And the girlfriend left.
How old was Edwidge at this time?
She was 19. 19. Yeah. And I didn't even realize, just speaking to her like probably 2 months ago, that's when I realized how old she was when all this happened. Realized how old she was when all this happened.
So now here it is, she got to raise her siblings.
Yeah, man. It's
now you saying the story where that this is what amazed me, because you all you correct me if I get any of this wrong, my understanding wrong. You all had decided that you all were going to keep it secret that you all had no adult supervision in the home. Even after Edwidge just finally just had enough and got up and left one day, I think you had to be maybe 15 now?
Yeah.
About 15 years old. Yeah. So you the man of the house.
Yeah.
Chella is the woman of the house.
Yeah.
And then you have two younger siblings that was in elementary school that was depending on you two along with whatever help that Clark can do whenever he was able to get away from the Navy, to come in and support you all. And but yet still what got me that even after you moved to Carol City, I think you moved back to in Edison area. Am I right?
Yeah, around Little River. I would say Little Haiti area.
Larchmont area. Yeah. But you said you wanted, because you was familiar with Carol City and the relationships that you have built there, you had wanted to continue to go to Carol City High.
Yeah.
You didn't want to change schools and go to Edison like Chella did, but you wanted to go to Carol City High. Yeah. And you say that you would get up, you routinely. Now, I guess you 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Get up at 5:20 every morning to make sure that you catch the bus at what time? 6, 5:40, whatever time.
Yeah. Be out of the house by 5:40, catch the first bus, catch that L, and then catch that 27. And
and you did this for 4 years.
4 years, 4 straight years.
And nobody in the school knew what was going on in your life at home.
Nobody. I felt like I had to protect, because one thing that my mother and my father always wanted, they always wanted their kids to be together. That's why whenever we would be with my mom, it'll be all 4 of us. Whenever we be, my dad is all, like, they didn't believe in splitting us up. Like, they always wanted us together. So that was kind of the theme that we kept moving forward. No matter what happens, we all going to stay together. So whatever we had to do, of course, God made it so where, they placed people around us to keep that happening. But for the most part, like, we made a conscious decision to just say, yeah, we're gonna be in this thing by ourselves. And we kept it away from everybody.
Now, the younger siblings, were they able to finish high school as well?
Yeah, all us finished high school.
Can you believe, listen, audience, can you believe this? Can you believe this? That here it is, barely teenagers, adolescents, without their parents, they were able to raise themselves. Gene, let me ask you a question on this, because I got another question when I ask. But let me ask you this question: what was the driving force behind? You and I commend you and Chella for what you guys did. But what was the driving force behind you making sure that all of you all succeed, especially after such a traumatic experience of losing both your parents at a young age? What was it, bro?
I just think, for us, for me, I just wanted to keep the promise that I gave to my parents, that we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. And a lot of it is luck. I'm not gonna tell you like certain things didn't happen and certain things just didn't swing our way, happened to swing our way. Most of it, was just a drive to know that I had a little brother, and that was really my motivating factor to keep pushing forward, because I understand that I got him coming up behind me, and I just developed that kind of instinct and kind of love of just having to just be there, knowing that he needs me. Mm-hmm. That was part of my whys. My little brother's part of my whys, and just with us, just as a unit, we are in our own way, just kind of just move forward in our own ways. But when it came time for us to come together, show love, and do what's necessary, we did it with flying colors. You know what I'm saying? And always it's the sense of my parents watching down on us every time that we get, no matter what. It's the sense that I always feel like I'm being watched over.
Yeah, you shared out a lot of the book that at times you had to go to visit your mother's gravesite.
Yeah.
Just to get an answer, to find that place of peace and a surety within your walk. And it's not to say that you were not tempted at a lot of times. Man, you got an amazing story, bro. Yeah. We don't have enough time in this 1 hour to really tell your whole story. Yeah. But you went to college,
Yeah.
uh, through football.
Yeah.
But the other thing that caught me too was that how you say that, because this to me, this took a great amount of strength and will and determination, because you expressed this while you was playing football in high school. Oh man, your stories in high school, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. That was.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
prom thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and even like you talked about the senior pictures. I think that's
Yeah.
what it was. And somebody robbed you of your money, or
Yeah.
senior breakfast or something.
On the bus, man. On the bus.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Listen, but you never gave up. You never quit. But
Nah.
what I was getting to, you were saying, because this, and parents need to hear this. You were saying that how playing football during the time you was playing football, and it began to weigh on you that all the other your players on your team had family there to cheer them on,
Yeah.
but you didn't have any family, mom and dad, in
Yeah.
the stands to cheer you on, and how you long for that, man. You want to share a little bit on that?
Yeah. A lot of my teammates, man, a lot of them upset with me now that we adults, that they finding out about my situation. You know, probably one or two of them knew, but you know, football, definitely South Florida football, we all know how serious that is. We know how we take that serious. And sports was my thing. That was my thing, man. That was my thing. Like, I was good at every sport. Whatever it was, man, I was good at it. I don't know what it was. Whatever I tried, tennis or whatever, I was good at it. And you know, going to these games, man, just practicing and all that. What really bothered me a lot, man, it bothered me that, you know, that my teammates was getting picked up, you know, by their parents from practice. Meanwhile, I had to catch the bus home, and I wouldn't say nothing to nobody. I just, all right, man, you know, I get up with y'all, and I just disappeared.
Right.
And then, you know, game days, you know, games used to end late. And, you know, everybody is just, you know, they all the players will turn around saying what's up to their family members and everybody in the stands. I never turned to the stands because I knew nobody was there for me. And several times, man, when you thought, you know, you get to that moment when you think you hear that voice you want to hear out of those thousands of voices, and you'll turn around and look, and it's, you know, and there's nobody there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of, you know, I make a tackle, get up, you know, I get up and get ready for the next play. I can't look in the stands and say, "Do you see me? Did you see that?"
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And then, like, because my siblings at the time, all of us was in school, so we really couldn't support each other the way we could, because Chella was a majorette, and so every night I played, she played. You know, Edwidge was gone by this point, and you know, Karen and Steve was just too young to be out that late.
Right.
And yeah, man, that was, man, and I just had to find some type of motivation to keep going forward. And with that, because I was good, man. I was good, and I felt, you know, this was my way of playing football, was my way of taking care of my siblings and upholding the promise that I made, you know, to my parents.
Right.
And you know, as time go on, you know, you start to realize that, you know, that extra push that you usually need, you're not getting it. So everything is self-motivated, self-driven, and that can take you but so far.
Right.
It can take you but so far. So yeah, man, it was tough, man.
I'm still reading, and I'm gonna finish. Hopefully, I can finish it by the end of the week, because I definitely, bro, because you leave college, you get married at 22.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
We ain't gonna tell that story. Listen, if y'all want to hear, listen, I'm gonna tell you, let me say to the audience right now, you have to read this brother's book. Read his story. Man, it will absolutely blow you away, man. I'm telling you, man. It's you know, you said it took you 5 years to write this.
Yeah.
But I love your approach with it because it kept wanting you to want more.
Yeah,
And also what you're doing is like you're telling a backside story at the beginning
yeah,
of some of the chapters of really a moment that you had to spend in the hospital
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and wife didn't want you around,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
screening
Just
order,
had
you
just
know,
had my heart attack.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what really prompted me to really start thinking about my life when I had the heart attack. When I had the heart attack, that's
You
what.
went through depression. You went through a big period of depression.
Man, come on, man. You know when you had a life the way I have up to that point, you kind of start saying, "Oh no, not this again." Like you kind of just know things are going to get bad. You just and you put so much into this person who you felt was
Yeah,
your escape,
yeah,
from what you've gone through because you felt like, oh, mom, she sent me this queen and to take care of me and to give me the love that you wasn't able to give me, and yeah, so that's kind of the format of how I'm writing the book. So basically, I'm in the hospital reflecting back on my life,
mm,
and
wow.
I'm spending days in the this
After you done had a heart attack,
I'm fresh off my heart attack,
at
and
what
now
age? At what age?
when I had my heart attack, I was I am I how old I was? You know what? I can't remember how old I was, man. But I
Okay.
was in my late 20s. I think I was in my late 20s when I had my heart attack.
Oh
I
my
was in my
God,
late
man.
20s. I was in my late 20s when I had my heart attack, man. And I'm just reflecting because now I'm trying to figure out what does this heart attack mean? Why did this happen? Like, out of everything that I've been through, now I got to deal with a heart attack. So now I'm reflecting, like kind of taking a reader through my life
Right,
and
right,
like me and the reader trying to figure out why is this happening. And
right.
when you get to the end, you'll realize how things happen the way it happened.
Yeah.
It got me to this point where I'm at today.
I'm gonna get to the end of it, bro. I'm coming. Hey, but you okay? This move on because we got a few minutes left here.
Yeah.
Tell us something about what you're into now. Your I think you have an organization or
No,
something of that nature.
I have a YouTube channel, man. Just me and my boys with a Z. I'm active on it. I'm basically an advocate for fathers because of my life and my situations that I've been through, especially with my last marriage. Like it prompted me to just really want to be an advocate for fathers and men because again, when you get to that half of the book,
Yeah.
it's you're gonna understand my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I felt like a lot of the things that I have done that I went through in the past,
Uh-huh.
involving with my other relationship, my other marriage, it kind of pushed me into my purpose because I did a lot of things wrong. I approached that whole situation with passion. So a
Mhm.
lot of my passion got me in trouble because a lot of my passion had me ignoring red flags, had me
Yeah, you
ignoring
talk about it, man. You had
and
a
my
whole lot
passion.
too, bro. You had a whole.
Listen, man, when I love, man, when I tell you I love you, man, I don't play. I don't play with that
I
word
hear you.
because
You love hard, huh?
yeah, I come from a era I come from circumstances where that's all we had.
Yes, sir.
You ain't
Yes,
have
sir.
love, you ain't have nothing. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying? So and
hey,
unfortunately the person ain't feel like me.
hey, you got hey. I'm gonna give you the last chance. We get ready to wrap this up, man. You got anything else you want to say to the audience, man?
I just want to say, I just want to thank everybody who knows me, who's about to know me. I just want to thank y'all, man, because at the end of the day, I'm living proof. I'm living proof that it's never over, no matter what your
Wow.
circumstance is in life, no matter how it's looking. If you approach everything with a pure and clean heart and good intentions, the universe will always take care of you. Most of all, God will take care of you.
It is. There it is. Hey, listen, man. I certainly thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man, to be a part of a Father's Note. This won't be the last time, I promise you, man. I gotta
I'm
have
here,
you
man.
back, man. We
I'm
gonna do
here.
some things together, man, because
I'm
we're
here,
here
man.
for the same cause.
I'm
Same
here, man.
cause,
I'm
man.
here.
But you know, it's stories like yours that reason why I do a Father's Note, just to let other fathers, to let other men, to let other sons, whomever in the male factor know that, hey, look, we all got challenges in life, but you don't have to give up. Whatever you do, never give up on yourself. Just keep fighting. There's a purpose. There's a reason. There's a meaning behind why we are going through what we're going through. Man, I wish that I could have just went through life without any challenges, but that's not my story. That's not my testimony. And that's the same. That's not the same with everybody else. I see I got a response from Edwige.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, I feel like I know your siblings, man, without even
I know. That's what everybody say when they read the book. Everybody like feel like the editor, the great Miss Kelly Hernandez, she helped me edit it. She said whenever we would go back and forth about edits and things, she would say, I feel like, she said, how's Chella? I'm like, she's all right. She's all right. And she's like, I just feel like I know her. I know her.
I'll tell you, man.
You know what I'm saying? But that's good, man. I'm glad you can connect like that.
Yeah, hey, it's a great read, you all. Great read. It's on Amazon. The Good Guy, My Story by Gene Marcelin. Listen, man, again, thank you so much. And we're definitely going to keep promoting what you're doing here as often as we possibly can, because we certainly appreciate you. Hey, audience, y'all know the drill. Look, all right, well, I got to do this here. Let me see. Go check out my sister, Just Between Us Girls, Miss Dominique Dumaville. If you want to get her book, just DM me and we'll make sure that we get her to you, get that book to you. Let me see who else we got here. Y'all know I got to promote Mom's book. Okay, where is it at? Where is it? Here we go. All right, Diary of a Virtuous Wife, How to Live with Infidelity and Win Doing It God's Way. You can DM me if you want to get that book as well. And then also I have two podcast channels here that we definitely want to support, put a plug in for. Real Talk with my dear brother, Aaron Gibbons. He comes on Thursdays, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Go check him out. He has some great content over there for you. Also, we have, let me see here. Who else we got here? We got the Carvilles. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, got to go back and get it. Let's Talk Marriage. Let's Talk Marriage. Oh, I don't know why it's not coming up. But anyway, check them out. They come on at 8 p.m. after us here. We went longer than we normally did because we had really cut our shows back to 30 minutes, but I really wanted to get into your book. And again, hey, Mr. Gene, thank you so much, man. And we will definitely be talking in the future. God bless you. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week. See you next Sunday, same time, same bat channel, as they used to say. All right. Much love to you. God bless.
Lionel Nelson here, and welcome to A Father's Note, promoting fathers through building men.
It's so important that we always stand up for our fathers. We want you to know we're with you. We're standing behind you 110%.